Hey friends, welcome back. I'm Panda Bennett, and today I wanted to just talk about all the buzz that's going on in the tarot community with the conversation around deck decluttering versus deck collecting, FOMO and flexing and everything else, and what the right thing is to do. And so today I'm here to tell you what the right thing is to do. And that is whatever makes you happy and whatever works best for you. Whether that's having a big collection, having a small collection, never branching out beyond one deck, just having a few decks, decluttering your collection, decluttering and buying back that deck, as I have done a couple different times. Whatever makes you happy, I fully support that, and I would never tell you guys what to do. There are very few things in this life that are absolutely free, and staying in your own lane, being kind, and minding my own business are all completely free, so I'm gonna do those. But all this talk did get me thinking about my why. Like, why do I have the collection that I have? Why am I a deck collector? These kind of things. So in an effort to maybe change the conversation a little bit, I wanted to do the hashtag #MyWhy to provide people a space to talk about why they love tarot, why they love their cards, why they have the collection they have, big or small, what works best for them, and that kind of thing. Because these are the things that I got to thinking about when reading through and watching the different videos and that kind of stuff. And like, why do I have the decks that I have? So really quick, in today's video, I'm going to share with you my why. So first off, I absolutely love card slinging. I love tarot and oracle. I find it extremely nourishing. I do a lot of in-depth soul healing type work, shadow work, and a lot of that work for myself I wouldn't be able to do if I just sit down with like a blank piece of paper. I can't do it by myself. I need those prompts, those visuals, those keywords. You know, some of these decks these shadow work decks come with amazing guidebooks to do this type of trauma touching, healing type work, and I've got a lot of it to do. So a lot of those decks come from that. But I got to thinking about it, and for years and years, I was a one deck girl. Rider-Waite-Smith, one deck, only deck, and it went everywhere with me. And it took me a long time to branch out from that, to break away from that one deck. That one deck was my best friend. We were completely comfortable together, and it took me a long time to just, I think the first deck that I got outside of that Rider-Waite-Smith that I started with and read with for years and years and years was a just different variation, like a different color, slightly different Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And then it was like the floodgates opened, you know, and now I have all of these decks back here. But for the longest time, I only had the one deck, and that was just because of funds, space, and that was how I learned. And I felt like having more decks would be overwhelming to me in that learning period. So now I'm in a different phase of my tarot journey. I read for myself, I read for others, I have a business built around this as well as a YouTube channel. And so there's several different reasons that I have such a large collection. Like I said, number one being because I love it. Number two, I always remind people that are like, oh my gosh, you have so many decks. This is my business. I actually can bring decks in as tools for my business, and then they are written off on my taxes, and they're categorized differently. So I have like a separation between things that I bring in that are strictly for me and things that I bring in as business tools. And so that gives me a little bit of a different playing field when it comes to collecting decks or buying decks, bringing things in. The other people that don't read professionally or have a business and do business taxes like for their tarot business, that type of deal. Also, I read cards on all different kinds of platforms, from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok now. And so I have different cards that I've realized that like work some places, don't work other places. So like TikTok, for example, they're 60-second videos. To me, I don't feel like I can do a full big tarot reading, but like one of my decks that I really like to use specifically on TikTok, I like to do my morning reading, like starting the morning off with eggs, as I say, and do a card pull, just offering people some one card wisdom in that quick 60 seconds. And like in contrast, my one of my decks that I use for like soul work, in-depth work is the Weaver's Oracle. So like, for example, these cards are cards that I work with. Okay, I don't know what's flying around in the air, but oh my gosh. Okay, so for example, these are cards that like I work with these cards. This is a really in-depth deck. It's gorgeous. I love it. But I usually work with these cards like 1 month or even more, depending on what's going on in my life at a time. So like these to me have no use on like a 60-second TikTok video. But these really cute, vibrant self-love cards I think are perfect for TikTok. So like for this quick card in a 60-second video that says, my own mental health is always my #1 priority. I cannot care for others if I have not cared for myself. So just offering people just a quick minute of self-care or uplifting, empowering message over on TikTok. So I have decks that I use for pick-a-cards. I have decks that I use for reading events, decks that I use for reading clients, decks that I use for TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, different things like that. Decks that I use for myself, decks that I use for grief, decks that I use for shadow work. And that's kind of how I ended up with all these decks. Another thing that happens is that I'm really a weird like matchy type person. So for example, say that I was doing a reading event or a pick a card that was based around like the sea or the ocean or mermaids. So then I would want like here, so here's one deck. So tarot card, here's another oracle card, here's another oracle card, here's another oracle card, and then a mini card here to close out the reading. So, and again, that's like 5 different decks. And I really like when I can match these all up. Again, I have even more mermaid decks and like sea decks like this that don't read well altogether. And so either I've like rehomed them or I still have them or just don't use them in these piles when I do the picking cards or do reading events. But also I just really like that. I like it when I can match these up. I can do this with these sets with like, I have candy sets, I have unicorn sets, I have fairy sets, I have ocean/mermaid sets. And so I really like that. I don't know why, that's just me. I like to be able to lay these all out. Another example of that is when I travel and do reading events that have like themes. So like I've done spring tarot readings, Halloween readings. So of course, like I wanted all of my darker like spooky decks, pumpkins, black cats, witches, all of those like tarot and oracle decks to pair together to use for that event. I think I took even like a black tablecloth because that was just the vibe. It was Halloween that day. We were connecting to the other side and like just creating a whole mood. I've also done Valentine's Day readings on Valentine's Day. So of course I wanted all pink, red decks. I wanted my table to be covered like in hearts, that type of thing. That's how I ended up purchasing the Modern Love Tarot by Ethany because I didn't have like a red heart type deck, and then I ended up falling in love with it. But yeah, so those deck themes, those reading events, the different type of clients that I read for, that's why I have all of these decks that I have. I use all of them, I rotate them. They're used for different purposes, used in groupings, and it's just something that for myself personally and then also professionally that I spend a lot of my time in, so it makes sense that I have a large collection, I feel. I also have started to change the way that I buy decks, you know, based on diversity, based on BIPOC creators, based on decks that don't come with any plastic and that honor the earth, that type of thing. So that's changing my collection as well, and how I bring things into my collection also. But there are definitely people that don't have the want or need for as many decks as I have, that don't have the space or time. Again, personally, professionally, this is what I like to do, so I have a lot of them. They're also tools, like I said, for my business. You know, if you were a carpenter, you would have tools to build a house or to fix the sink, those type of things. These are just my work tools, and that's why I have so many. Also, I don't buy other things except for teacups. I guess that's a lie. and plants and tacos. Okay, so besides tarot cards, teacups, plants, and tacos, I don't buy other things. I wear the same 2 pair of jeans, and I try to be a minimalist in all my other places of my life. And there was a time when I was young and I was just like so wasteful and was spending money because like I get the Cosmopolitan and it would tell me about this new perfume or this new lipstick that I needed, and I don't do that anymore. I've really simplified all the other areas in my life, and so I'm okay with this. And people ask me if I get overwhelmed by my collection. I do sometimes get overwhelmed by my collection. Like if I pull all of my stuff out to refresh or to like change the placement, which I do from time to time based on like what's newest, what I need to work with, the season, or different things like that. And so like when I pull everything out of my drawers, then I instantly get overwhelmed and I'm like, why do I have all of these? But then when I sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to offload some decks, I'm going to pick out these ones to sell, then usually I'm like, you know, I pick up a deck and I'm like, yes, no, I can't get rid of it. So that's just where I'm at with my collection. It's just what works for me. It's what I have the time and space for. But yeah, I would love to hear your why. This is my why with all of these decks, and I haven't counted in some time. At one time I was like, I have a spreadsheet and I'm going to update and like stay on this spreadsheet, and that lasted like a week probably. I think it didn't last very long, and maybe I didn't ever get it finished. Maybe I didn't get the spreadsheet, like the actual inventory, finished. But anyways, I haven't counted in some time. I'm fairly certain that I have around 500 decks. But yeah, so this is my why, and I would love to hear your why for the collection that you have, whether it's big or small, or you don't consider yourself a deck collector. I would love to hear about it. And your choice is completely valid. And again, I fully support whatever makes you happy, and I hope that you guys are taking care of yourself. I will see you back for another video.